Hello, I'm Elijah Henderson. Today we are in White Bluff, Tennessee, a small suburb on the outskirts of Dickson, Tennessee, and we're here today to discuss the White Bluff Screamer. As usual, when we here at Cryptid Studies Institute, or Cryptid SI for short, become aware of a paranormal event, a cryptid sighting, whether it be new sightings or an old sighting, we'll do our very best to bring it to you in miniature form in our web series that we have taken to calling Nightmare Nuggets. As stated a moment ago, today's nugget brings us to White Bluff, Tennessee, the home of the White Bluff Screamer. White Bluff is located 10 miles outside of Dickson proper and is a very small community, but it is home to a big legend. Since the late 1800s, the people of White Bluff have been terrorized by a frightening entity that to this day is still steeped in mystery. Some say that the Screamer of White Bluff is a banshee of the same order that has startled and petrified the inhabitants of Old Ireland and the Celtic lands for centuries. Others say that the Screamer has ties to the legend of Werewolf Springs, which is just a rock's throw as the crow flies from White Bluff. Still others say that the shrieking enigma is a Bigfoot and not the alleged werewolf or Werewolf Spring, while yet another contingent of the local population maintains that the Screamer is in fact some sort of demonic or devilish supernatural being. No one knows for sure what the Screamer actually is, but the timing of the legend does coincide with the supposed arrival of the beast that plagues Werewolf Springs, when according to local lore, a traveling circus train wrecked and several of their animals and oddities escaped. Supposedly all the animals were recaptured except for a male and female of some creatures listed in the manifest as a wild man or wolf man of Borneo. It is hard to say exactly when the troubles for White Bluff actually began, because some iterations of the legend say the events began sometime around the late 1860s or early 1870s. Some even say the 1920s. Whatever the date, the events are the same and started for no reason when the father of a family of 7 children complained to his wife that every night he heard the most horrible, blood-curdling screams coming from deep in the woods. This persisted until he finally got out of bed and started to pursue the ghastly screams. Although as hard as he tried to find the source of the noise, he was never able to find what was making the terrifying commotion. It even sounded as if it was moving deeper and deeper into the forest, and the brave young father continued to pursue it deeper and deeper into foreboding woodlands. Suddenly, without warning and almost impossibly, the screams began to emanate in the opposite direction, back from the farm where a slumbering family was all alone and unprotected. As fast as a man who was wandering the inky darkness could travel, he rushed back to his homestead, assumedly praying that they would be fine, but fearful of what he may discover when he arrived. When the young man reached the cabin, he rushed in and called to his family, but there was no reply, so he began to go room to room searching for them. As he continued his search, nothing seemed to miss, and I'm sure his pounding heart must have begun to slow as gradually he began to think. As he continued his search, nothing seemed to miss, and I'm sure his pounding heart must have began to slow gradually as he began to think that his fears were in vain. Unfortunately, he allowed hope to creep in too soon, because when he opened the door to the bedroom, his worst imaginings were realized. According to the stories told by locals, the young farmer found his wife and children mangled and mutilated and scattered across the blood-soaked floor. Overcome with grief and revulsion, the father slunk to the floor and began to weep bitterly. As his anguished cries went up into the night, he looked down at the floor and saw what appeared to be large footprints burned into the floorboards, and the tracks made their way out of the cabin. Before he could recover from the startling discovery, he heard another scream pierce the night. Grabbing his gun, he ran to the door, and looking out, he saw the man-like figure of a large, mist-covered creature standing in the grass. The creature screamed once more and ran back into the forest, and was enveloped in darkness and was gone. The father ran to the very spot where the beast had stood, and discovered that the grass was seared and scorched just like the floors of his cabin. The distraught young man went back inside and composed a note telling of the night's horrific events, and that he was taking a few of his effects, his gun and 2 bloodhounds, and he was going to pursue and kill the thing that had taken the lives of his wife and 7 kids. To this day, no one knows if he got his revenge or not, because he was never seen or heard from again. This is the alleged story of White Bluff's infamous Screamer. I believe elements of the story have been embellished over time, but what do I know? I do know that over the years, people have claimed to see a white creature reminiscent of a sasquatch, and few have even claimed to have photographed the pale humanoid beast, while others have caught audio of the screamer in action, and we even acquired a copy of this audio, and it comes from a fellow researcher in the area named Jason Acey. Give it a listen. Folks, I don't know if the White Bluff Screamer is a cryptid, a phantom, a banshee, demon, or devil, and without more evidence, we'll never know. I'm just here to bring you the story. Of course, we'll be out investigating the legend ourselves, but for now, we're just reporting. Until next time, I'm Elijah Henderson with Cryptid Studies Institute, or Cryptid SI for short. Please subscribe to us on YouTube, it'd really help us out, and make sure to click that little bell icon to be notified when we upload a new video. Like us on Facebook and Instagram. If you like the Nightmare Nuggets and our content, please drop us a note or leave us a comment. And if you've ever had a cryptid encounter with the Screamer, a Bigfoot, werewolf, or dogman, or some other creature or supernatural event, tell us your story. Consider being a guest on our upcoming radio show. Or if you want your story to be told, or if you want your story told but want to remain anonymous, send us your encounter and we'll read it for you. See you next time. Good day.